This is a review of the Liquid Image Ego camera. This is a camera that was first announced at CES in January 2012, but it's August 2012 now and it's just become available on the market and I've purchased one. Now this is part one of a two-part video review. In this part I'm going to be focusing on the operation of the camera and show you what you get inside the box. In part two I'm going to be focusing more on the performance of the camera. Now let's have a look at the specifications. This is a 1080p camera. It will do 1080p at 30 frames a second or 720p at 60 frames a second. It records in H.264 MOV file format. It claims to do 12 megapixel stills, but it's only really got a 3 megapixel sensor, and it has a wide angle lens of 135 degrees. The camera comes in this rather neat and eye-catching box. There's a camera inside the clear plastic area at the top. The bottom half of the box is made out of cardboard and the two halves are held together with a line of tape across the middle. It has to be peeled open to get inside. So here's everything inside the box. The instructions are in 4 different languages on a large piece of double-sided paper. The font is rather small on that. If you do want to see these instructions, you could also download them from the Liquid Image website. You get this plastic case here, which we'll have a look at later. You've got this piece of double-sided sticky stuff here, which is a spare one for this thing, which has already got one of those on it. That's a sort of mounting thing. We'll investigate that as well. You've got a micro USB to full-size USB lead for charging and data transfer, and then we've got the camera, which at the moment is mounted onto this bracket thing, but it doesn't have to be. We'll unscrew that so we can have a look at the camera separately, and we'll weigh it first of all. So let's see what it weighs. It is 75 grams approximately, or 2.6 ounces. So here's the camera on its own. It's quite an interesting looking little thing. To say it's 1080p, it's very small. It's nice and sort of rounded and solid looking. On the left is an LED. In the middle is a waterproof microphone. On the bottom there is a screw mount for a tripod. You've got a lanyard hole there. On the back you've got some specs as well as the model number, which is 727. On the top is an LCD screen with a button either side. And finally on this side is a rubber flap that if we open it up, there's 3 things inside: micro SD, micro HDMI and a micro USB of some description. It doesn't come with a micro HDMI lead, and it doesn't come with a micro SD memory, of which you'll need a class 6 or greater up to 32 gigs in size. So I've got my own here, which is a class 10 one I'm putting in the side, and then it needs charging for about 2 hours when you first get it. It does come about halfway charged. It doesn't come with a charger though, so you need to supply your own one of those. Now the LCD screen on the top here has got these buttons either side that control everything. The left one there is power and mode, and the right one is shutter. So we'll hold down power to switch it on. Notice on the screen there it says 720. It starts off in 720 mode every time. Tap it, it goes to 1080 mode. Tap the mode button, that is. Now we'll tap it again to get to the next mode along. Now it's in photos. You can tell that apparently by that little tiny box at the top right there. So if I press the mode button again, it'll get in continuous shooting mode, where it just takes a load of photos one after the other automatically. And you get 2 little boxes at the top right there. Now if you thought that was hard to see, which it is in various lights, don't worry. It's got the LED on the front that tells you all the information you need. Blue is 720, green is 1080, red is photo mode, and purple is continuous shooting mode. And those are nice and bright. You can see those outside, so you don't really need to look at that screen. Now if you tap the shutter button when it's in one of these modes, the blue light's flashing there to say it's recording, and we tap it again, it stops recording. Press it along to get past 1080p. Now we're in photo mode, the red one. If we tap the button now, it flashes to say it's took a photo. And if we put it into continuous shooting mode and press it, it'll take a picture and flash each time and beep. I should have mentioned that everything's greeted by that same beep sound. Now on the screen here you'll see it says 3. That means I've taken 3 videos. If I press the mode button to get into photo mode, it says 35, which means I took 35 pictures. Now let's have a look at these mounting options. First off, you've got this kind of mounting plate here, which is plastic. It's got that sticky stuff on the other side, which I haven't peeled off yet, and it's got this raised section in the middle here. The idea is that you slide this bit into that raised section and it clicks into it and holds firmly, like that. And then of course you mount the camera to the top of that. If you want to get that off, you just squeeze those legs together and slide it out, like that. Right, I'll clip that back to the base and we'll put the camera on it. Now the camera's got these 4 dots around the bottom of the tripod screw hole. As you'll see, the thing on the right, it's got a load of dots around the screw in the middle there. And of course the idea is that you tighten the 2 things together, the sticky out dots go inside the holes, and it stops the camera from rotating on that tripod screw, which is a very clever idea. Now of course this mounting bracket does give you quite a few different options as to what direction you point the camera and what orientation you have it in. You can twist the camera around so that it's facing in the opposite direction to the bracket and things like that. But of course you've only got one of those mounting plates. So once you've stuck it to something, you've got to be sure that that's the thing that you want to be sticking it to, unless you can get spares somewhere. Of course, with it using a standard tripod screw thread, you can attach it to pretty much anything you want, like this thing which I use for some of my filming. Now the other thing inside the box was this plastic cowl. Now this is a bit of a strange thing. It just covers the lens at the front there. You see it's got a piece of plastic over that, and it's got a little bit of a hole at the top there. I don't know if you're supposed to hang it around your neck or something. And all that does is push on the front of the camera to protect it a bit. I suppose you could be doing something which might damage the camera if things are getting thrown up, and that would help you protect the lens. It's also slightly more waterproof, I'd imagine, with that on, but I believe the camera's splash proof anyway, but it's not waterproof on its own. Of course this does cover the microphone up at the front, and it does seem to come off rather easily. I'd imagine that would just fall off if you're doing anything particularly energetic. Now you can get a proper waterproof casing for this. They show it inside the manual. It's an optional extra. One of the more unusual features of this camera is the fact that it's got Wi-Fi. Well, what would you use Wi-Fi for? Well, let me show you. The first thing you need to do is download an application. It's called Action Connect, and it's available for iOS or Android devices, and it's free. Once you've got that up on your device, you've got a choice across the bottom of the screen: shoot, share, or settings. Well, let me first of all show you how the settings work. You've got to turn on the camera. Now you're going to wait about 15 seconds after it's turned on, and then hold down the power button until it beeps twice. That means that the Wi-Fi is now turned on. You've got to connect to the network that the Ego has now created, and of course there it is at the top, called Ego. It's got no password or anything like that. So once you're connected to it, as though it's a Wi-Fi network, you then go into the Action Connect software, and it lets you change the settings inside the camera. There's quite a lot of settings you can change in here, and here's the screens of them now, but I'm going to show you them in a little bit more detail. I'll show you the more important ones. So let's get into it first of all. We'll try resolution. Now just look at the colour of the light on the camera to show it's connected. There you go, change to 1080p 30, it goes green, back to 720p, back to blue again. So it shows it changes as quick as that. Now there's all these different things we can change, but let's try some of the other ones. Second one down, FOV, field of view, we can change that between 90 degrees and 135 apparently. I need to test that one out more thoroughly later to see how that works. Resolution of the camera, you can change between 12, 5 and 3 megapixels. Continuous shooting on the camera, you know, when it takes pictures one after the other. Normally it's 2 seconds, but you can have it do it every 5 seconds or every 10 seconds. You can change the AE meter to be center, average or spot. You can change the white balance to be automatic or underwater. And contrasts, soft, hard or standard. Mic sensitivity, low, medium or high. You can change the time and date using the standard setting controls, which makes it very easy to do that, but you can do it inside the camera if you didn't have access to the applications using button presses. And then finally you can change the amount of time the camera sits in standby before it shuts itself off. Now I know there's one thing I'll probably get asked: can you switch off the beep and the flashing light? And the answer to that is no. There's no control over that. The beep's quite quiet though, so don't worry about it too much. Now the next thing we'll do, we'll go into the shoot menu on the application. Now this is quite unusual because it gives you a live viewfinder over Wi-Fi. However, there's a bit of a lag. Wait for it. There we go. That's me moving. I'll put it back and just wait for it again. Right, so it's not really a live viewfinder. It's more for framing things and getting them in shot. You can also do a digital zoom on the application. Of course, you've got to wait a while for it to take effect, but there you go. Of course, stay away from digital zooms. They're not worth messing with. The other thing you can do, you can actually get the camera to take pictures whilst you've got it framed by pressing the camera button at the top left there. However, if you put it in video mode and then press the record button, this will flash up on the screen. It says to start recording, the camera will turn off the Wi-Fi connection. It can't record and transmit over Wi-Fi at the same time. So if you select OK, the camera starts recording, fine, but you lose the Wi-Fi connection. Now the next thing we'll try is that share option in the middle there. So you pick the Ego again over Wi-Fi. I've reconnected because I lost the connection last time, of course. It shows all the pictures that I've got inside the Ego, and I can look at them on the iPad here, which is quite nice. You can also download them to the iPad over Wi-Fi between one device and the other, so that's quite nice if you're sort of out in the field, I suppose, and you want to save something. You can delete individual files as well. These are getting deleted again off the camera, not off the iPad. You can also do similar things with video. You can watch the videos you've recorded. You can just play those back by streaming them between the two devices. You can, of course, delete the files again one at a time, just like you could with the photos. You can't batch delete things. Now notice on the screen here it says resolution 432 by 240. Now what this camera does, every time you record anything, it also records a smaller version of the same thing. So you can, if you want, download that smaller version, which is WQVGA resolution, or you can download the proper HD version. Both of them are stored on the camera. Now once you choose to download those, of course, it takes a few seconds to copy between the two devices, but once they're on your iPad or whatever device you're using, you have to go into this local menu and the files are stored there, and that's where you can play them from. But you've also got an option there to share them, and if you click that you can upload them to Facebook or YouTube once you've put your account details in. So we've reached the end of part 1 of this 2-part video review. In part 2, which will follow in about 2 weeks when I've had time to test the camera more thoroughly, I'm going to put things like sample videos and photos in there. I'll do a battery test, I'll look at the bit rates, do a low light test, take it out on the motorcycle and look at that HDMI out capability. I'll also try and answer any questions that you put in the comments to this video. But I couldn't just leave you hanging like that, so what you're seeing on screen now are still frames taken from test footage that I shot at lunchtime today when I had the camera with me for the first time. Hopefully it's coming across on YouTube that these images have really vibrant colour and a pin sharp. Now the only thing that might put some people off is the marked fisheye effect to the images. But you'll need to see that for yourself in the follow-up video. And if you want to make sure you see that video, it might be an idea to subscribe to the channel. But for the moment, thanks for watching.